Right, I'm the architect collectors. I'm here with Charles, and we're down here where they are fracking, where they are attempting to drill at Balcombe in Sussex. And this is Charles. You're one of the local residents.
I live here. Yes, I live half a mile up the road.
And what do you think? What's this fracking? How's this for you?
I think it's a poisonous process that should not be allowed anywhere, either here or in Lancashire or in any of the rest of the south of England. I think it should be banned, as various countries have banned it. I mean, it's not allowed in France at the moment, it's not allowed in Germany at the moment. Our governments seem to have dollar signs in their eyes, and they have more worries about money than they have sense. If we ruin this countryside, it will stay ruined. If we pollute, sorry, I shouldn't say we, if Quadrilla pollute our water supply, it will stay polluted. You know, there's no way back from that kind of pollution.
So what is fracking, Charles? What do you understand by that?
Fracking is a process by which water plus various chemicals, and you always have to slightly wonder what they're putting in apart from the water, but water and various chemicals is pumped at very high pressure down under the ground and led through a tube into the layer of the subsoil that they want to get gas, or in our case oil, out of. The trouble is, you never know where that's going to go. You never know what pollutants you're going to pick up at the same time. You never know if you're going to get heavy metals, if you're going to get radioactive materials that are perfectly happy buried down under the earth, under the soil. But you know, we don't want to bring them up here. They're going to poison our rivers.
So they pump the water down with the chemicals, and they hit the strata, and they frack it, they crack it.
They make cracks in it, and through those cracks, they hope that oil or gas is going to bubble. And in
Blackpool, there was two earthquakes.
Or just near Blackpool, the actual fracturing process caused 2 earthquakes. In one of those earthquakes, this is just a point to make. In one of those earthquakes, the earthquake actually deformed the casing of the well. Now that probably means that sooner rather than later that well will leak. What did they do? What did Quadrilla do about that? They sat on that knowledge for 6 months. They didn't tell the authorities. The authorities didn't know. They had no people there observing. And Quadrilla just kept their mouths shut for 6 months. Now, I don't feel that these are the kind of people we can trust not to do the same kind of thing all over the UK.
Do you know who owns this land?
Yes, it's an estate called the Balcombe Estate.
Is it owned by a guy who's sort of like, is he the head of the local hunt? And
it's owned by I think the family member who's technically listed as the owner at the moment they're called Greenwood. He's called Simon Greenwood.
Okay, let that car go through. Can you imagine what it would be like because our country, this country, the city of corruption, the city of London, goes around the world mining. Can you imagine what it would be like in a place like Nigeria and the Ongoni, where the people are...
The Nigerian delta has been completely messed up, again, by oil and gas interests, and they've caused untold damage there. The worst polluters of our planet for the last, certainly 50 years, have been the oil and gas industry.
How can we stop this?
Well, we, the residents, are delighted to have the people who are camped here helping us in the fight against Quadrilla. I spend most of my day on the computer. I've just come down here to sort of show a bit of solidarity. I spend most of my day on the computer writing to the county council, writing to government departments, trying to stop this happening. But we're up against quite a tough fight because, as the government told us the other day, George Osborne made an announcement saying that he wanted the UK tax regime to be the most favourable in the world for fracking companies. Now that comes from pretty near the top of government. So we're essentially saying to our government, we think you're very wrong on this. We don't want our countryside polluted. We want our countryside to remain countryside, and we feel this is a poisonous, dangerous, unpredictable process.
I don't think they care. The government, the police support the corporations above the people.
Well, at the moment, I feel rather sorry for many of these police. I think, you know, that they're here enforcing, many of them, I've talked to several of them, and many of them feel rather embarrassed because they actually are rather more on our side than they are on Quadrilla's side. But they're doing what they're told to do.
We have a morally bankrupt government, judiciary, media. The country's in a terrible state. We have the privatisation of the NHS. We have our schools being handed over to hedge funders. We have this fracking. We have racist vans on the street. We've got border police turning up at Walthamstow Tube Station, Kensal Green. This country's in a mess.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily have listed all those things that you've just listed, but I think at the moment our country has rather lost its way, and I would love to see a better time.
And this is a symbolic protest now, Balcombe. This week we saw Lewisham Hospital win a case against Jeremy Hunt, saying it was unlawful for him to close the accident and emergency at Lewisham.
Well done, Lewisham. That's what I would say. I would love the same thing to happen here at Balcombe. But the odds are stacked against us, but we are doing all we can to resist.
Well, one of the things I take great solace in was that Lewisham won. They had a victory.
That's great. We've had small victories here. We've delayed Quadrilla now by about 5 weeks. They probably would have had their drills.
Is this Lord
right
Brown?
down.
This
is
Lord Brown,
the company
the
of
man
which
from
Lord
BP,
Brown,
the man who went to war in Iraq.
He is the chairman of Quadrilla.
Do you know he said to Tony Blair what his comment was about Iraq? This is the big one.
Well, big in terms of loss of life, yes. But I don't think in any other way big. Anyway,
I'm the artist taxi driver. We're down here at Balcombe.